What up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. Crypto Street Podcast. This is Crypto Dale coming to you tonight, recording on the 25th, Monday. Just hammering things out, looking at these new markets. Prince is a little under the weather, so he's not going to be with us tonight. So Killer and I are just going to hammer things out. So Killer, what's good, homie?
What's up, man? I'm excited to talk some current events. For anybody who didn't realize, we switched to weekly episodes just temporarily, I think. We're just finding, I think the content's going to be a lot more enjoyable for everybody. So we won't be repeating ourselves quite as often, which I'm sure a lot of people are happy about. So, but I think there's been a lot that's happened in the past week, just in terms of the price action, some of the current events we'll get into. So definitely some good stuff to talk to. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. Not too bad. Had some saw some folks declaring alt season with this last move, but a little premature, I think. But not quite out of the woods yet. But I do definitely think that we're a lot better shape than we were a week and a half ago.
Yeah, absolutely. We will talk some price action at some point, probably towards the end of this episode. But
Yep.
yeah, some stuff to be excited about. Even with the most recent kind of downturn that we had of the past couple of days, where the rug got pulled out. But it's good
That
stuff.
it did.
So I guess we'll get right to it. The first current event that we want to touch on is, I think, top of mind with everybody today. We're recording this on Monday. Is XRP finally getting added to Coinbase or Coinbase Pro. So obviously a long time coming, but yeah. So what are you thinking? What's your initial gut reaction to this? Anything that you found funny on Twitter?
It's just so funny to me that they finally are going to add it, and it wasn't a troll. I know maybe some people have felt that Coinbase maybe trolled Ripple a little bit in the past with some of the tweets they've done and stuff like that, and XRP armies out in full force. A lot of people were tweeting about all this stuff today. One tweet that I found, probably the one of the best ones, was the guy says, "How here?" And I quote, "How can anyone doubt XRP at this point? I mean, come on, people. Seriously, when will Fudsters give up the losing battle? You will not beat them. So join while you can. Hashtag XRP. Hashtag XRP the standard. Hashtag crypto. Hashtag this is the best one. Zero doubt."
Oh my God. They knocked the hashtags out of the park though. I will give the XRP army one thing. It's just it's like watching like a would-be influencer like try to get engagement on Instagram, just hashtag everything. Same
Yeah,
sort of thing. So
it's pretty funny, I guess, or not. I shouldn't say funny, but kind of fitting, I guess, that they add that it is the third largest, according to market cap, crypto out there by, the top three, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple, are hands and above beyond anything really in terms of market cap. Those top three. So kind of funny. A lot of people I know don't like Ripple. So it's just seems fitting though that they do add it eventually. I mean, everyone knew it was coming.
yeah, for sure. One thing is you remember when XRP, it's kind of been embroiled in negotiations as to whether or not it's a security. I think
Yeah.
that has been kind of unclear with the government and regulators. They've said Bitcoin's not one, Ethereum's not one, but I'm pretty sure they've said some things that indicate that Ripple is, in fact, a security. So I wonder what the takeaway in regards to that is with Coinbase adding. Do they just not care if it's a security anymore? Has it been deemed not one? Or I wonder what's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I definitely think they probably have had some, their legal team looking into this and felt that it was okay to add it, and maybe that's what the holdup has been this entire time, is why it wasn't one of the original ones added. And I did see a lot of people complaining about the whole inside trade thing that saw a big pump before it actually got announced. So it's kind of been that way with all of them, I feel. And they've kind of been trying to cover up, they being Coinbase, trying to cover this by releasing the list of coins that could possibly be added. So I don't know. It's I definitely think they've probably looked into it, read the security thing.
Yeah, I mean, and there aren't many crypto companies that are more by the book than Coinbase. So if anybody's going to take a chance on listing something that's going to get them in hot water, it's not them. You know, it's going to be
Yeah,
something like KuCoin or Binance or somebody like
definitely
that.
KuCoin. What a shithole.
Yeah. Is KuCoin still exist? Am I like completely out of the loop here?
I think it
Does it?
does.
I think it does, but it's like exchanges enter these death spirals where like they lose liquidity and then nobody trades there because there's no liquidity and then it just dies. And it's just like I think it's probably headed that direction.
Is
Sorry, KuCoin.
is where's Tezos listed? Is that on KuCoin?
I think just Kraken. There may be
Kraken.
like a
There we
couple
go. That's
other
right.
like
That's
odd
right.
ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
it's
couldn't
not many
remember which one of
places.
them two it was.
Yeah, Kukin or Kukin crack crack coin. Well, they're easy to mix up.
Is this
As we
Prince?
see. Yeah, right. Oh, did you see CZ on that note, by the way? He tweeted something like a couple days ago. He's like, the correct pronunciation of Binance is Buy Nance. And
I
then
did see
I,
that.
I think Reptar quoted it and he's like, don't tell Prince this and like tagged
Did
him.
he really?
He's like, it's actually been on CC.
Oh God. I know. I did see that too when CZ tweeted that, and that's who I thought of at first was, well, Prince's argument that that's how it's pronounced has finally been laid to rest.
We should have never said anything though. I really kind of miss him saying Binance. Like it did seem kind of like very like special. Like it makes it sound like it has tons of clout, you know?
Yeah,
It
it's
seems,
like that warm feeling of back when the markets were continually green and
all right.
all that good stuff.
Yeah. What else to hash out with Ripple? Oh, I guess this is so Ripple was up on the news about like 10%. Which was not really surprising to me. Was that surprising to you? Did you expect?
No, not at all. I mean, it seems they all have been pretty pumpy with when they get listed. Given again, maybe not so much as of lately because of the bear market, and people are getting some confidence, I think, back into the market. So with the news being announced today, 10% seems okay.
Yeah, and like I mean, the thing is, if this had happened 2 years ago, it would be up like 20x
Oh
probably.
man,
But
it'd be huge.
yeah, the landscape has changed so much though. It's like it wanted to get on Coinbase so badly, but by the time it actually happened, it's not as consequential an event as it once was. I mean, Coinbase was like a guaranteed golden ticket for a coin before.
Yeah,
And there's so many other options, so much more liquidity that it's just not, it doesn't have the same effect. And I think that's going to be true for almost anything added to Coinbase at this point, unfortunately. So it's not like some
definitely.
pie in the sky, like take my coin from the dead and, give it life for years to come sort of move like it might have been in the past.
Yeah, and I remember several times during the bull run in 17 when people would, Coinbase would announce that they have an announcement and they're going to be, announcing something at X time today, and people would just speculate that they were going to add Ripple per se, and it would just pump 20-30% just basically because Coinbase said they had an announcement. I mean, it was just insane.
Those were the days. Just
The glory
rampant
days.
speculation for real. It felt like those glory days for a couple days there, which we'll talk about later, I'm sure. But yeah, Ripple, I give it a big meh, a big 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I definitely do too. I know some people we talk with a lot, Killer, where say that they've made piles and heaps of cash off of Ripple, and I'm probably one of the only few that haven't. I've lost money on Ripple with the whole the XRP conference thing or whatever they had when Bernanke was there.
Bill Clinton was there too. Is that the same one?
That was last year, but this was 2 years ago, I think. And everyone was expecting a big announcement, and I was just stupid and bought heaps and heaps. And as soon as the announcement came in, it was literally nothing. It just fucking tanked.
And from that point on, Dale hated XRP.
And actually, in the pod, I said I will never buy Ripple ever again in my entire life. And Ledger Status has reminders every 6 months in his calendar to ask me if I've bought Ripple.
Have you yet?
I have not, no.
Oh, man of his word.
True to it. Mainly, and also, when we kind of helped out with whale reports, one of my bold predictions was that it was going to go to, I think, 15 or 25 cents. So
right.
I was close. I think it was 15 cents. And I think the lowest they got there for a while was like 21, 22 cents. And I know Icy would always message me and be like, dude, I think your Ripple prediction is gonna come true.
Yeah,
So
that was very prescient. Are you having second thoughts? Do you think you're going to buy some now, maybe?
no, absolutely not.
All right.
I just hate
I thought,
evidently I just hate money. But I don't know.
yeah, well, I'm like, I've been out of it for a long time. Like I had a nice trade on Ripple as well, or I did have a nice trade, but I haven't been in quite some time. But I'm actually getting ideas because when we get that mass influx of people, like I just got done saying the Coinbase listing is not a big deal, but I do think noobs go to Coinbase first, and all
Yeah,
that new money is going to see something trading at 30 cents, and they're going to go, oh, well, this one's so cheap because nobody values in market cap; they value in
yep,
price. You know, new people, I
absolutely.
should say. Um, I think there might be merit in buying some XRP here. You know, again, not financial advice. I still do think it's largely a shit coin, but don't let that fact stop. Like people oftentimes they like don't make money because they don't like the idea of a coin, but that doesn't mean it won't pump. Like I think EOS is a good example of that. Like EOS,
Very.
I think is centralized. I think it does a lot of things wrong. You know, in terms of cryptocurrency ethos, but they still have a ton of capital to work with, and I still think it might pump. I mean. So I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, and I'm probably one of those guys that are blinded by my hatred for that. And will I do I foresee me not ever really actually never buying it? No. I mean, if I see a good setup or something, I'll probably just do it. I'd probably create a new account because I think Ledger has all my Ripple addresses, maybe just to verify. So I'd create
Yeah.
a new account or a new address just so that he can't see that, and I can just lie and say I didn't.
I like it.
Real
Um,
quick here before we move on, Stefan in the chat wants to know if we think the Coinbase listing XRP is correlated to them applying for their broker dealer license to list securities. What are your thoughts?
I would have to think about this. This was a great question from the chat. I was actually just going to say that too. So great minds, but I don't know. I mean, I guess I'd have to look further into it. I mean, I'm sure it had some relation, you know, because I guess it could even be just a covering their butt thing for if
Yep.
XRP does get classified as a security, they're kind of okay. Um, but I honestly, yeah, I'd have to look further into it. So I don't really have a great answer on that, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I would just mirror what you say. I don't think, there's probably some, correlation between the two, and I think they probably are more of like doing it as a CYA type thing, just in case it does get deemed a security. Then they can say they have that.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, it has something to do with that, but I don't think it was specifically for Ripple. It's probably more just like a catch-all to cover their
Yeah,
butts,
for
I would
sure.
imagine.
And yeah, like you just said, I think it's looks like their whole vision is to add more cryptos and everything, and they're probably doing this just in case down the road something does get deemed a security uh than that.
Yeah. All right. Next on the docket, let's talk about our old buddy Warren Buffett, everybody's favorite value investor. Had some comments about Bitcoin. I think, was he saying that he thinks he still doesn't see any value in Bitcoin, but he thinks blockchain is ingenious? Were those his
Yep.
words?
Yeah, here's what he said in regards to that. He said it's ingenious and blockchain is important, but Bitcoin has no unique value at all. It doesn't produce anything. You can stare at it all day and no little Bitcoins come out or anything like that. Interesting choice,
All right.
Warren.
Yeah. What were your what was your knee-jerk reaction to this? Or
I
I think he just said
mean,
this today.
yeah, he did just say this today, but I mean, it's take it with a grain of salt coming from him, in my opinion, because the guy, I just picture him as just this old dude that's totally old school. You know, this just isn't his type of investment. So I think he's just going to try and badmouth it, in my opinion. And I could be totally way off on this, but that's just kind of my very high level thought on it.
I agree 100%. I think, not to discredit what Warren has done over his career, certainly one of the best investors of his time. I do say of his time, though, because this guy made a lot of his gains in markets that were way less competitive, where he wasn't dealing with algorithms and high frequency trading firms. And really, he was dealing with an investing public that didn't know what they were doing. Now you can Google anything. It's not that hard to become a good investor if you have the time and the drive to do it. So, having said that, yeah, Warren Buffett is somebody who very recently, I'm saying recently, like within the past 5 years, probably said he doesn't invest in tech companies because he doesn't understand their business models. And so it just kind of goes to show you that no matter how smart you are, no matter how much of an alpha dog you are in whatever field it is, you hit a point where father time is undefeated, and you don't really get the trends. You don't have the energy anymore to really learn about things. And I mean, I just think about how much trouble like I had grasping blockchain and Bitcoin and things like that. And like I'm like a millennial, and it's like I kind of know tech a little bit, or I think I do, and it still took me forever to understand blockchain. So for this guy, I almost said old geezer. Sorry, Warren, but I just think it's like it's kind of out of his wheelhouse, and he's talking about things he doesn't really understand.
Yeah, and damn it, I had a really good quote and I lost it. But this guy, he basically has squashed Bitcoin from day one. I know back in 14 he said to avoid, told at one of his Berkshire Hathaway conference thing, he told all of the people there that they need to stay away from crypto. And then I think it was early last year, he called Bitcoin, he referred to it as rat poison. So I mean, for a guy that uses a flip phone, I don't think he would understand things behind it.
I feel like rat poison is just like an old person insult too,
Yeah, definitely.
Like I've never heard that used by anyone under the age of like 80.
Yeah, and like you said, not discrediting anything from him because he's been very successful, but I think he's a little off on this one, and I don't think maybe he does think Bitcoin could be a good investment, but he might think this in 10 years and he doesn't want to hold it that long. So because he doesn't know if he'll be kicking still, but I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. And like the thing you learn too is like, like you can safely ignore like so much of what you read online in terms of investing, even if it's something Warren Buffett says. I mean, it's like with a lot of these big guys too. Oftentimes, you kind of alluded to this. Oftentimes what they say is not really what they think. At times, like they want to give one message out there, and they may be doing something else behind the scenes. Not to say he's on Binance, trading shit coins, but I mean, I don't put much weight in this.
Yeah, I don't either. It's kind of like the whole Dimon thing, he just kind of fuds it, and then now look, they have a damn coin.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Somebody just mentioned him in the chat too.
Our man Stefan.
Yep. All right, enough of Buffett. Let's move on. Next story. CoinDesk is reporting that shorts on Bitcoin are at an 11-month low on Bitfinex. So the number of shorts is something people like to look at as either an indicator or a counter indicator. You can look this up on TradingView if you type in BTC USD shorts. Nice little chart to look at. I have my thoughts on this, but I want to hear yours first. So
I think it kind of correlates a lot of what we've seen in the last week for me, and I think you'll probably agree here. Kind of people are really wanting to turn bullish, and they're wanting to hit that next big gain and the alt season and whatnot. So I think a lot of it correlates to that, and I think people are seeing people call bottom has been in and stuff like this kind of make it. And I'm not saying that I think it is or I don't, but you see stuff like this and it kind of gives you that feeling that maybe it is actually. And I don't know, it's very interesting to see because even a week ago we had hit a 6-month low on shorts. So now we just propelled it to 11 months. So I think it's a pretty bullish sign for everything. What are your thoughts?
It's hard because like I feel like this is almost one of those metrics where the story is what you want it to be. Like
Yeah.
I remember when the markets were going down and I would see that shorts were at an all-time high, there was part of me that was like, oh, this short squeeze is gonna be a beauty. Like let's just get a little breathing room and then it's gonna fly. And I was like, I counted it as like a bullish thing, you know?
Right.
Um, and I'm like, you know, permeable like it to a fault. And I'm trying to come to terms with that, but it's tough because you know if they're all time high, you can say okay, the fuel is there for a crazy rally. If they're at all time low, you can go, oh, see, the sentiment has shifted. People are bullish. So it kind of depends on how you can look at it. I think it's something you don't want to read too far into, but have it be like a piece of the trading puzzle. You know, you're like putting together this mosaic of all this information. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely the more things you can use, more tools you can use to formulate an opinion or like a direction where you feel comfortable with it going, the usually the better it can be. So this is like you said, just another tool to put in your arsenal and kind of take it for what it is. But there is a lot of truth and a lot of correlation between the number of shorts and longs, in my opinion, with how the market's
Yeah.
moving.
And I do think it is indicative of somewhat of a sentiment shift. I mean,
Yeah.
I've certainly, like, putting this aside, let's act like we didn't know about this short information. Would you say you've seen a change in sentiment on Twitter or just in general?
Oh, absolutely. People were more jokes are getting made. People aren't so salty the last week because, there's some money to be made. And the fact of the matter is not everyone's a good trader. So people get really pissy and bitchy when they're not able to just jump on a coin or token and just ride it up 10-15% and sell it and make money. People want to try and make as much money with as little work as possible, and seeing green is always a good indicator, and just makes life a lot easier for people, and that definitely showed, in my opinion, on Twitter.
Yeah. By the way, quick aside, I think this is a good moment to talk about this, but was it just me or like the market's acting a little bit bullish improved my mood so much just in
Oh my
life,
God.
just everything.
Oh,
Like
I know.
I felt like I was like
Market.
on opiates or something.
The market improving. I was hitting some good hero power hours, and no pipes burst in my house. So the last week I've been in a pretty decent mood.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, it was almost like all my worries in life just started to like vanish away. I was like, what am I
Mm-hmm.
so upset about all the time? Like, and granted, it was short lived. We got the rug pulled out, but we'll talk about price action in a little bit. We'll probably get to that in like 5 to 10 minutes,
Yeah,
where
for
we'll
sure.
kind of delve more into what we're looking at here. But for now, let's move on to exchange wash trading. So, to the surprise of basically nobody, a lot of exchanges fake their volume. You've probably come to that conclusion if you've ever gone to CoinMarketCap and hit markets for any given coin. And the first like 5 or 6 on a lot of them are like, I've never heard of that, don't know what that is. That seems sketch, you know? And it's like, and then you finally get down to like Binance, like number like 7 slot or something. So not shocking, but some places are starting to do actual analysis of this to like prove that a lot of exchanges are wash trading. So I'm referencing an article. You can check it out on theblockcrypto.com. Cool website, run by a few people I think we know, but pretty good website. I've started going there more often for news. But they had an analysis of which exchanges are messing with their volume, which ones are to be trusted, and the results were pretty startling. I think. Let me see here. One of the takeaways was 2 of the top 5 exchanges by liquidity have less than 1% of their actual reported volume. 1%.
It's crazy.
And yeah, and I thought it was an issue, but I didn't think it was like this much of an issue at some of these places. So what were your take? We'll get to some of their rankings in a sec, but what was your takeaway from this?
Yeah, it's you talked about the block here, and we're gonna have Frank Chaparro on next week. So he's with the block, so that's pretty exciting. That hopefully that'll be really good for everyone. But it's really scary to me with looking at this article. 2 of the top 5 reported liquidity pairs have less than 1% of their actual reported volume. So that's the one thing that every trader really seeks is liquidity, and the fact of being able to get in and out of a trade is huge. So there's no other really way for a trader to rely on that than looking at the volume of an exchange. And like you had said, the veterans really know, or the people that have been in the space for for a while really know what exchange is true to that and what exchange isn't. So unfortunately, the new people that come in and the new money that we're going to need to bring in, they aren't going to know this and could get to these exchanges and, get trapped into a trade and realize that, oh shit, then they're now a community member for a while if something goes bad. So, that's worrisome to me, and I think that's a problem that we're probably approaching with crypto is all the exchanges, in my opinion. Like I don't remember where we were, but we were talking about this, and it might have been in our chat, Killer, that exchanges are just literally popping up left and right. And yeah, there are some good ones coming out that I think are going to be pretty good for the space, but there are also some clearly people that are just after money. So it's a little worrisome, troubling, but I think if you stick to the main exchanges, I don't think you'll see as big of an issue.
Yeah, and to be honest, like with options like Binance at this point, which graded pretty well in this report, I mean, they add almost everything, I would think. So unless you're trading some really obscure coin, like on something that's only on like IDEX, you really should stick to the big ones.
Yep.
I think safety, liquidity, it's just the way it works too is like, especially with liquidity, you get a little bit, then you get more, and eventually you have like this moat of liquidity where you have to do something really bad for people to leave in mass and for it to actually affect the fills and liquidity and all that stuff. So a lot of these big exchanges have network effects, and you're best off just sticking with them. They're the most reputable. Your chances of losing your funds, granted, you shouldn't store your funds on exchanges anyway, but they're way less. So this is like a very interesting tidbit I took from the article. I'm reading this verbatim. An example of deceiving volumes not translating to true liquidity is exhibited with Coinbase metrics, which reports similar 24-hour volumes as Bitfinex, but on Coinbase, it only takes $13,000 worth of capital to push the price of a top liquidity pair down 10% versus Bitfinex, where for the same move, it would require about 10 million of capital. So 13,000, 10 million. And these two places report the same volume. So, I mean, if that doesn't tell people like the extent of this, I don't know what does.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking like one fairly wealthy guy can move a market versus needing 10 million to do it. So it's pretty incredible. I won't spend all day listing all of these exchanges because people would probably die due to boredom, but some of the more reputable ones they found were Binance, Coinbase, Kraken, Bitbox, I believe it's called. HitBTC was decent. Some of the worst ones were ZB, OKX, Bithumb did very, very poorly. So the metric I'm referring to here in the article was they compared web traffic, like how many visitors a site gets versus their reported volume. So you would think if an exchange is doing a ton of volume like Binance, they should have a lot of users visiting the site every day that kind of correlates with the volume they're seeing. And so with a lot of these exchanges, they're getting very little monthly visitors, but they quote unquote have all this volume. So I thought this analysis was very interesting. I'd seen somewhere else report on this sort of thing before, but this is the first time I've seen it put in like a nice little chart that I did tweet out today. So interesting stuff. I mean, again, not a surprise, but just a further lesson that like, I think what is a surprise is like the extent to which they're faking volume, because I would imagine like, yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say like, I would have thought it would be like maybe like 20% of reported, but 1%, I mean, it's insanity.
Yeah, that Bithumb. Everyone head over to Killer's Twitter page. It's L Whale, and you'll see this chart. The Bithumb one is just, it's unbelievable when you look at the average daily visitors versus the average daily volume, 24-hour volume. It's unreal.
Yeah, the chart's incredible. The block did a really good job of putting this in like a form where you can like very clearly see like, oh, garbage, not garbage, pretty good. So Poloniex did pretty well. Bittrex, that shouldn't really be a surprise though. Those two companies have been acquired by like big dogs, or maybe not Bittrex yet, but Poloniex got acquired by Circle. So they're not running around, wash trading because they're subject to regulations that a lot of these places aren't. But
right.
Yeah, I think takeaway, stick with the big dogs. Alrighty. That covers it up for like most of the big current events we wanted to talk about. Also, definitely wanted to talk about some price action and what happened with the markets over the past couple of weeks, specifically the past week or so. What were your thoughts as we started to approach, sir? Not as we started to approach. What were your thoughts as the bullish action started to take shape?
Yeah, so I kind of had this, the higher we went, I'm trying to figure out how to put this in words. The higher we went, kind of the closer I started watching it. I had tweeted out, I don't know. I try not to tweet out a lot of my charts or my views just because it's so toxic right now that, if you make one bad call, you just get blown up. But I tried to say if I felt we needed to break through 4,200 and we needed to close above that. And then I felt like I could probably see my bias turn base or bullish a little bit more. But, it looks like we kind of got rejected right below that 4188-ish area, 4,200 to be pretty close. But I think we're going to probably retest that here in the next couple of days. Again, don't hold me to this. I don't know how to say this, but I'm not super confident in my TA. So don't come out and guns blazing and rip my ass if this is wrong. But could see us retesting it. But I feel like we're gonna hopefully stick in this range for a while. Maybe the 42 to 37, 36 area, and then probably range here for a while. Again, could be totally off. Just kind of my personal thought. What do you think?
I am inclined to think the same thing. 4,200, like you mentioned, that was the really important level of resistance that we wanted to get over. Obviously, like you said, we got rejected right off of that, so that's not good. However, if you look at the chart on like a bigger time frame, like a 4 hour or a daily, there are some good things happening. We have made some higher lows since that chop we had below like 3,700 or so. And there has been a break into like this channel, which I'm basically classifying this channel. These are just horizontal lines I'm drawing on the chart between 3,700 and roughly 4,200. So we initially broke below that back in early December. We peaked above it a little bit and then did a lot of consolidating below it a couple months later. And so if we can at least stay in that channel from 3,700 to 4,200, I still think that constitutes maybe not bullish yet, but like decent price action, something that shows we've bottomed at least. Do you think we've hit a bottom yet?
I was you and Rick were kind of saying that you thought we did hit the bottom. I don't know. I just felt like we were going to get another leg down to the 2,800 range, 27, maybe 26, maybe. But, with again, talking about things adding to the arsenal with this 11-month low on shorts, just kind of peeping the chart a little bit, it does with the higher lows, like you had mentioned, kind of feels like we might have hit the bottom. I don't want to say that because it's going to come and bite me in the ass, but I kind of feel like we have.
I just think, it's like, it's tough because like that's what I want to be true. So I don't know if I'm just like confirming my bias by thinking it is. But if you look at the chart, there are some things that kind of make you think we have. That 3,700 level that we talked about before that was acting as resistance for a long time, that has now acted as support for this recent like sell-off. So there's a pretty clear bounce on the 4-hour chart off of that 3,700 range. So if we can, and this is like a staple of trading where resistance turns into support, support turns into resistance, on the way down and on the way up, or conversely. But and so these are things to look for. Something I've kind of been thinking a lot is Luke Martin always says move slow, and what he means by that is don't let FOMO guide your actions. Don't rush into a trade just because you're terrified it's going to moon right at that moment. Zoom out, go to higher time frames, and really see if it's a good entry or not. And that's something I've been trying to employ a lot more in my personal trading. And I think if you do that, the past week or two have still been bullish. It's not like that sort of like, oh, we're going to the moon again right now. Like I think, some people might have thought for a couple of days, but it's still a good development. And if you're in this for the long haul at all, you're still going to have areas to accumulate in a good range before we kind of start heading higher.
Yeah. And, I I feel like back to the bottom thing. I know a lot of people say when you hit the bottom, you kind of have a hard bounce up. And if you look on December 6th, 17th, there's a nice little green candle there. I mean, it's not huge when you put into perspective what we used to see. There's definitely other candles on the bigger ones too. So that's maybe one area I would have liked to have seen was maybe a bigger bounce to kind of signify bottom. But and again, with like you had said, Killer, sometimes you really, for me, have to sit and zone out and try and like, this is going to sound really, really dumb, but try and like get your inner emotions totally out of there and off kilter and really think, okay, is my feeling that the bottom is in as in me wanting it to be in, or is it based off something factual?
Yeah. I think if you have like a gut reaction of what you think, or maybe like just any kind of reaction, if you had to predict like what the market's going to do from here, I know this is like it's impossible to say, but just like, what do you think in terms of what we see over the next couple of months?
I think we're going to, especially referencing Bitcoin here, I think we're going to probably continue to see some sideways action for a good while. The Litecoin halving and then the Bitcoin halving next year. It's halving, right? I've never.
Yeah. No,
Okay,
that's right. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever said it out loud or said it to someone that is knowledgeable. And if I said it wrong, would call me out. But
like happening sounds right too, even though I don't think it is.
Yeah, that's what I always say, like think happening. But we've got the Bitcoin halving approaching next year. So I mean, I don't want to get any hopes up, but I think we're gonna see some sideways continuation action, some accumulation zones will be popping up. And I think, next year, God, I don't know if we'll see 17 bull run like that, hopefully, but that's kind of what I'm anticipating is probably things will pick up end of this year, really pick up, this time next year, in my opinion. What do you think? Curious to hear yours.
Okay, so I have I hate making predictions. I think they're dumb after I just asked for a prediction, but here we go. So I think, okay, so my framework for this entire run has been basically looking at the 2013, 2014 bubble popping and trying to relate that to what we've seen over the past year and a half or so. And the reason I'm trying to do that is I think Bitcoin is still an asset, and crypto in general, that's traded largely on psychology and momentum. I think those are really the primary drivers of price action. And you could say, oh, that's true of all assets, but I think it's way more true of crypto. It's not like a stock where, a company has bad earnings or their CEO gets a scandal and, there are extraneous things that can there's certainly extraneous things that can, make cryptos go down. But I think the markets generally follow psychology and momentum more than a lot of other assets. So that leads me to think that the patterns in crypto are more repeatable than with other assets. So if we're using 2013, 2014 as a framework, I mean, some of the similarities between those two charts are really, really startling. If you have a moment and you're listening to this, check out those two coins or those two charts. You can go to CoinMarketCap or wherever you like looking at charts. Look at the 2013, 2014, 2015 period and compare it to 17, 18, and maybe 19. So it's super interesting to see how they line up. Tons of similarities. If we follow a similar pattern as we did after that bubble burst, what we're looking at is basically being range bound and flat in the 4,000 to 5,000s until September or October, at which point we break above resistance in the upper fives, mid sixes, and then begin to start the journey to retest 20K.
Bingo.
So yeah, so that's what I would say. I think flat chop in the 4 to 5s for another like 6 months or so. Then we finally break above that big resistance, high 5s, low 6s, and that's when it's off to the races, if I had to guess.
I definitely think, I agree with everything you said. And I think that, oh God, I don't even want to say this, but the more that we talk and the more I sit and think, I really think the bottom has been in. Could be wrong. I could see another leg down to 26 to 2,800 range, but totally agree. There's some very bullish things coming up for crypto as a whole. So I think there's good things that you just gotta good things come to those who wait. So you just gotta realize this and sit on your hands. Sometimes not trading is the best trade to make.
Yeah. And Donnie had a really good tweet about this too. I think this was like Saturday or Friday, maybe like a few days ago, where he's saying, no matter what your opinions are of what happened in the market, you need to put that aside and realize that the upside is a lot more than the downside right now in terms of a risk reward. So if you're just entering the space, maybe you buy here at 3,700, or maybe it tanks again and you buy at 2,700 or 2,500. But regardless, your downside is, I got to think it's pretty limited at this point.
Yeah, I would agree totally. I mean, you're not going to see the thing, and I shouldn't say you're not going to, because every time someone says you're not going to, I don't think it gets in triple digits by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I agree.
So, all right, well, that's everything we kind of have for tonight. Make sure you guys check it. We haven't promoted this in a while, and God, it's been so long, I almost kind of forgot the address. Check out our store. We've got some great merchandise over there, cryptostreetstore.com. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channels. We appreciate all the feedback, everything you guys do. Again, like Killer mentioned, we did cut down to one a week. We kind of felt like some of the content we were producing was pretty redundant, so we're hoping that getting some more meaningful stuff out. We got some great guests lined up, so so we appreciate everyone listening. Take care. Tip your waitress. Have some hootskis with your boys. Be safe out there. Peace out, everyone. Take care.